Carmelo Anthony just got charged with first-degree murder as an adult, and I feel it should have been premeditated.
Damn!
Regardless of what y'all think, you don't bring a weapon on school grounds, let alone tell somebody, touch me again and watch what happens.
Stop it. Get some help.
First of all, Mr. YN, you were the only one that knew you had a weapon, so that would count as premeditated to me.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
I am a black man, but I do not support criminal behavior, and I don't like when we push a negative narrative. Karmelo is not a hero. He is not courageous. He was not protecting himself. It was not self-defense. So get mad, get my comments, accuse me of being a coon, but what I know is I raise my kids the proper way, the correct way. I won't teach them that this is okay. If you feel you have a problem, go tell a teacher, go tell a principal. You can have conversations to combat negative situations, but people get emotional at the snap of a finger and they flashing out. I don't agree, I'm not with it, and he should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, regardless.
Guys, things are not going too good for Carmelo Anthony's baby-beating spokesman. And I wonder if he kind of regrets attaching himself to the Carmelo Anthony case. Now, don't get me wrong. He's getting more attention in this case than the other cases that he has attached himself to prior to this, but I don't think it's a lot of positive attention. If you go to the comment section of any post that he makes on social media, I'm talking Facebook, X, wherever, there is very little to no support for him. Most of the comments are people just making fun of him. And look, he's attached himself to some high-profile cases in the past, but I guess he's used to dealing with scary white people, like white people who are scared to speak up. I guess he's used to dealing with white people who suffer from white guilt, used to dealing with white people who are too afraid to speak up or speak out, right? I guess he's been dealing with a bunch of like left-wing, white savior type mentality people. I guess he's been dealing with those type of white people. I don't think he was ready to run into people like me. People who are not afraid to speak out. People who don't care what labels you throw at them, you're going to say it how it is regardless. You see, Dominique Alexander ain't used to running into white people like me. Dominique Alexander is not used to running into white people like a lot of you all watching this video. So right now, he is in the process of effing around and finding out. He's finally come against some white people who aren't going to back down because they're afraid of being called racist, right? He's finally met his match. And in the process, there has been so much exposed about this guy. And most of this stuff should have been exposed a long time ago. Dominique Alexander should have never been allowed to reach the point that he is at now. And the only reason he was allowed to do so is because white people were too afraid to call him out on his BS. Okay? That's how he has reached this point. But now, the floodgates have opened. Everything is getting exposed. Yeah, sure, we knew about his criminal past. We've been talking about him and how he beat up a 2-year-old baby, made the baby's brain hemorrhage, made the baby's freaking eyeballs pop out of their head. We've been talking about that a lot, but it's also come out now that he is a fake minister. And folks, I want you to understand, when I say something, it's not gossip like when it comes to the Carmelo Anthony supporters. When I say that Dominique Alexander is a fake minister, I don't say that to be mean or to be petty. I say that because those are the facts. Here's the emails right here. Dominique Alexander was claiming to be a minister at this church. The church says he's not a minister, that he's not even affiliated with them. So up until now, all of these other high-profile cases that Dominique Alexander attached himself to, no one questioned him, no one pushed back. They allowed him to spread his lies. They allowed him to pretend to be a minister. But now, things are getting exposed. So we know the dude's a baby beater. We know the dude's a fake minister. If you've seen my recent video, we know that he has fake security, fake bodyguards. Everything about this dude is fake. And what he's trying to do, ladies and gentlemen, he's trying to fake it until you make it. You know, a lot of these rappers, when they come on the scene and they first start making music or they first start getting known, oftentimes the cars you see in their music videos, those are rented. The chains they're wearing around their neck, they're either fake or they're rented and borrowed as well. Because often rappers fake it until they make it. They fake like they got all of this money and all of this clout and all of these girls and all of this women, hoping to become successful. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Right now, Dominique Alexander is trying to fake it. He's the Temu Dollar General, Al Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's trying to fake like he's got bodyguards. He's trying to fake like he's a minister. And he's been trying to fake like he's a bigger deal than what he is. You see, he recently had a protest. And it was supposed to be a very large rally for George Floyd. Hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of people were supposed to be there. Him and his fake activist group, they promoted the protest for weeks and weeks and weeks and acted like it was going to be a big deal because they were faking it, hoping to make it. The only problem is they didn't make it with this one. Maybe 10 people showed up to the protest. If we're being generous, half of those people were actually there working and recording the protest. Some of the people in attendance were there just to kind of see how things were going so they could make fun of him later. So we're starting to realize that, yeah, everything around Dominique is fake. All of his claims are fake. But also the clout that he pretends to have, all of that is fake as well. I'm not saying that this dude has no power, because I do know that he has connections with certain district attorneys. He has connections with certain sheriffs, with the police chief. He has connections for sure. But this guy is not the big deal that he's made himself out to be. And I already made a video going over some of the footage from that protest and how lackluster it was. But now we have another clip that I want to show you guys. And it's so crazy, because when you watch this clip, I want you to understand that Dominique Alexander is giving this speech basically to no one. Dominique was out there on a microphone, speakers attached, so everyone could hear, complaining and ranting about white people to a crowd of no one. And I have the clip that I'm going to show you in just a moment. But first, if you guys support the channel, if you like the videos, consider supporting the channel in one of many ways. You could hit that like button. You could drop a comment. You could share the video on social media. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you would really like to support the channel, you can always donate via Cash App or Super Thanks. It is always greatly and humbly appreciated, especially in these times when covering stories like this one. But with that being said, let's go ahead and roll this footage, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Our dear brother by the name of Carmelo Anthony, all right? And y'all give a hand for him this street. We had all of the racist, white supremacist bigots who had a newfound interest in the next generation action network, right? And inevitably, somebody must have told them something wrong about Dominique Alexander, right? Because somebody didn't tell them before they found this newfound interest in me, and I don't give a damn. In their narrative. bigots, and the white supremacists care about me in this organization, is the day I must resign, right? And on the history and the legacy of my ancestors, I'm going to continue to tell them to go promote them, okay? So, I don't really care. What I really care about is when you have black owners, that have sympathy for people that don't have sympathy for them.
Remember how I've been telling you guys that this freaking bozo is a complete narcissist? I mean, I'm sorry, but what is more narcissistic? What is more narcissistic than standing in a public park? You got speakers all around as if you got a crowd of 30,000 people getting ready to hang on to your every last word. You're speaking into the microphone, ranting about yourself. You're at a public park, ranting about yourself on a microphone in front of a crowd of nobody. Well, they must have said something wrong about Dominique Alexander. Then he looks up and there's just like a pigeon on the tree. A squirrel runs across the lawn. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nobody else is there. Literally whining and complaining and moaning about racism to an empty lot. And then people say, well, what do you mean by fatigue? Why are people getting fatigued because of this? People are fatigued because maybe they want to go throw a frisbee at the park without some fake black activists there complaining about fake racism that never happened. That's fatigue, folks. That's an example of fatigue. Maybe you want to pick up your dog's poop in peace at the park without having to look up and see Dominique Alexander complaining to a crowd of no one about bigotry and white supremacy. I guess it's white supremacy's fault that no one showed up to your protest. I guess it's the white man's fault that no one gave a damn about what you were talking about. But there he is, folks. A whole protest for George Floyd. He had a protest for George Floyd 5 years after George Floyd was killed. Or died, or whatever you want to say. 5 years later, he was that desperate for attention that he decided, you know what? Oh, Carmelo Anthony ain't working. I'm going to try to get people to protest about George Floyd again. And it turns out no one cared and no one showed up. So he sat on the microphone and talked about himself and his network. The next generation network, you see, it's talked about and it's more known now. And everybody, no one's there, buddy. No one is there listening. You freaking narcissist. You freaking clown. Why do you insist on making yourself look stupid every day? Why do you insist on giving me this gold that I can react to? I know why. He's already said why. Because it boosts his ego. He's that much of a narcissist that he will go stand by himself in a public park and talk to himself on a microphone in hopes that someone like me will see the video and make fun of him and mention his name because that's how much he wants to be mentioned. That's how badly and desperate he wants someone to talk about him. It doesn't matter if it's good or if it's bad. He just wants someone talking about him. And if it takes having a protest in the middle of a public park that no one attends while complaining about yourself and people saying mean things about you while ranting about racism, then so be it. He'll look like a freaking idiot. Because at the end of the day, and he stated this himself, it boosts his ego when people talk about him. So this whole entire thing has been turned into the baby beating Dominique Alexander show. It's not about Austin. It's not about Karmelo. At least in his eyes, it's all about him. And he's been making a lot of this about him. And him making all of this about him is why he's getting so much pushback. And I wonder if he'll be able to recover from what happens to him when it comes to the Carmelo Anthony case. And when I say what happens to him, I mean what happens to his reputation. But I think when you have people like this, I don't think you can damage their reputation. Because as I was explaining, in past videos, the people supporting Karmelo, they're supporting a murderer that stabbed a kid in the chest at a track meet. So it's going to be hard to try to make someone look bad to them. Hell, Dominique Alexander, the baby shaking, baby beating weirdo, he's a complete angel compared to Karmelo. So they're not going to hold him accountable for anything that we expose about this guy. And I guarantee you that the Carmelo Anthony story won't be the last story that he attaches himself to. But I think he's going to think twice. I think he's going to understand that now people are watching. There's a large group of people that know about you. They know how you operate. So things are going to be more difficult for him moving forward. But right now, I think we could just all laugh at the fact that this guy is claiming that he's like a god amongst men. He's so important, yet here he is by himself at a public park with his fake security crying about white supremacists. It's so sad that some people wake up every day and this is their life, complaining about white people and crying about white people, pretending to be oppressed. That's their life. Meanwhile, people like you, people like me, we go out here and live our day-to-day life just fine. No one's oppressing me. But you guys let me know what you think about all of this, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon in the next one.